Hello, boys and girls. Greg from the Scary Spirits podcast here to make you another cocktail. This week's cocktail is the Red Devil. I'm going to start shaker with ice. To that, I'm going to add vodka. 1.5 ounces. Next, peach schnapps, 1.5 ounces. Next, the recipe calls for Southern Comfort. I don't have any Southern Comfort, but I do have another sweet liqueur-infused bourbon, Jim Beam apple. Why not? Next, gin. Another 1.5 ounces. Two ounces triple sec. I'm using Cointreau. 2 ounces. It's a lot of liquor, boys and girls. Orange juice. 2 ounces. Finally, grenadine. Doesn't say how much. So, I don't know. There. Then we shake. Then it says serve in a 10 to 12 ounce glass. There you have it, boys and girls. The Red Devil. Not bad. Very fruity. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy the podcast. See ya.
This week's episode of the Scary Spirits podcast, The Devil's Reign, is brought to us as a listener request. We just love those. And what a star-studded film it is. Ernest Borgnine seems to be having an absolute blast playing the devil. William Shatner and Tom Skerritt play brothers, and John Travolta's in there somewhere, but you'll really have to keep your eyes peeled to find him. Overall, it's a nice satanic panic precursor. The special effects are even pretty good, although you might want to cool it on the melting montages. They're a little out of control. Cheers.
Welcome to the Scary Spirits podcast. Please be advised that the presenters may use adult language and or discuss adult situations. This podcast is not intended for younger listeners or those that may be easily offended. So, if you're ready, let's go.
Hello, boys and girls. I'm Greg.
Hey everyone, I'm Karen.
And welcome to the Scary Spirits podcast, the podcast that combines the two very different yet highly compatible worlds of scary films and alcoholic spirits.
What could possibly go wrong?
Indeed, Karen. How are you?
I'm doing great, Greg. How are you doing?
I'm okay, Karen. Thank you
Just
for
okay.
asking.
It was a gorgeous day. I figured you were out doing thirsty work all day.
I did that yesterday. I did a little today.
Were you setting up for Halloween
I
today?
was.
I'm going to tell you
Yesterday
what,
and today.
Greg's upset because the grandparents across the way are ahead of him and setting up Halloween decorations. He's got to get his shit together. That's all I'm saying. Is that why you're only okay?
Yeah, Karen, but I'm caught up now.
Oh, okay.
I might have even passed them a little bit.
Oh, so you passed the 80-year-olds?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes, I did.
Way to buckle down, Greg.
All right, Karen. Whose film was this?
I think this was a listener request.
It was, Karen. A listener, Todd Brown, requested that we review this film.
All right, Todd. I'm not sure you like us or not.
The film is The Devil's Reign from 1975. Got quite a star-studded cast, Karen.
I was amazed, actually.
I do have a cocktail to go with it. Todd did not offer a cocktail, so I had to come up with one.
That's okay.
Cocktail is the Red Devil cocktail. I figured
Ooh,
that's got to go with it, right?
it
That's got to
does.
fit in somehow.
Yeah.
I mean,
How do you make that?
It's in the title. So we're going to need 1.5 ounces of vodka, 1.5 ounces of peach schnapps, 1.5 ounces of Southern Comfort, 1.5 ounces of gin, 2 ounces of triple sec, 2 ounces of orange juice, and grenadine. It didn't say how much grenadine, though, Karen.
Well, it's got to be enough to make it red, right?
Yeah, well, mine's kind of pink, so I guess I did enough.
It's not called the Pink Devil, Greg.
It's true. It's a lot of liquid, though.
It is.
So we're going to mix all the alcohols into a ice-filled cocktail shaker, add the juice and grenadine, and shake. And then we serve in a 10 to 12 ounce glass. We don't strain.
It's a big one.
It is a big one. There was some left in my shaker. Even.
It's like what you get at a party restaurant. You know, where they bring you it could come in a big fish bowl and everybody sticks their straw in it. It's that big.
Well, it's not quite that big.
No, you can handle it.
But this should be shared, I would say. Probably.
I would think it's for two. I'm just saying.
It's a lot of alcohol. I did not have Southern Comfort, Karen.
What did you substitute?
Well, I was going to use Jim Beam honey because it is also a sweet liqueur based on bourbon, right? Or whiskey. But I didn't have any of that either. I thought I had, but I didn't. But I did have Jim Beam apple.
Too many hot toddies or something?
Probably, yes. But I did have Jim Beam apple, so that's what I used. But speaking of hot toddies, Karen, this would probably make a good medicinal drink, I think. Just like a hot toddy.
Well, it's going to knock you out. That's for sure.
True. Well, we'll
Nothing's
see.
going to hurt after. If you had two of these, you would be feeling no pain for sure.
No,
it would only take me one.
Yeah, I don't think I would do. No. Two, no. I mean, this is 6 ounces of liquor.
That's why I think it's really for two.
Even more if you count the triple sec, which does have a little alcohol in it. So, but it is tasty. It's fruity.
Well, they put that orange juice in there and everything's better.
It's got that screwdriver feel to it, though.
Yeah. Strong screwdriver feel.
Mm-hmm.
Like the bartender's your friend. You know?
All right. Should we give our friends and listeners time to make their own Red Devil cocktail?
Let's do that.
Hold on. And we're back.
Yes, we are.
Karen, might you have a brief synopsis for us?
I have a very brief, inaccurate synopsis.
Go on, tell us all the story.
A murdered family's patriarch seeks revenge upon an Arizona coven that captures souls and worships Satan.
Thank you, Karen. We are a match.
I mean, it's okay, but it's not really good.
All right, Karen. Tell us everything you really enjoyed or were pleasantly surprised by in this film from 1975. Do you remember 1975, Karen?
Yeah, it was glorious.
Groovy. It's groovy.
It was groovy.
All right. So please tell us everything you really enjoyed. And please remember, we like to keep this under an hour. So,
Well, first I have a question,
okay, Karen.
and then I'll tell you because it kind of hinges on my question. Were they making a B movie or were they making a serious movie that kind of turned into a B movie? Do you know? Can you get a feel?
I don't know. I think they were making a serious movie.
Okay. Because as a B movie, it's quite good, I think. But as a serious movie, I don't think it is. But I'll tell you what I liked anyway. Strong sequel potential.
Yes.
I do enjoy. I liked the 70s feel of it. I know it was made in the 70s, but watching it now, it's almost nostalgic. Well, it is nostalgic, but it has that muted tone 70s feel, the clothes, everything about it. I realized they weren't reenacting it, but there's something about that 70s film that kind of sucks you in a little bit. So I like that.
That's because we both remember 1975, Karen.
No, well, there's just something about those horror films made in that time period where they can move cheesy. They almost all are cheesy.
Because we grew up on them.
Yeah. So there's that. So I like that. I liked the story was interesting. There's a nice backstory to it. I wish they would have told more of that. There's a flashback scene, which the way it's done is a little weird, but you get the story and you see it enacted. And
it was 1975, Karen.
I liked that though. I like that there's a backstory. It's a generational conflict, and so there's that. It's a little deeper than just randomly selecting someone to snatch and drag off to be Satan worshiping. There's a story. I like that. It is star-studded. I'm not sure. Some of the actors are older. I know who they are, but I'm not familiar with their work. So I don't know if they're over the top or if that's how they always are. John Travolta is supposed to be in it. I never saw him.
I didn't either, but I figured we were getting near the end. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. John Travolta was supposed to be.
Well, he has a star.
Where the hell
it's
was
like
he?
He's co-starring. I think maybe I might have seen him in the crystal ball thing once.
Okay.
Maybe. You kind of hear his voice.
Was he the one who fights with Tom in the house?
I don't know. They all have some poorly.
They have black eyes.
Black eyes, so you can't really tell who's who.
Meaning,
once they're converted,
not like they've been punched in the eye. Their eyes.
Oh, that's
black.
true. Yeah, they're like they have full contact black, but it's not that nice. But that's what it's supposed to look like. There's a couple interesting shots in it. Beyond that, yeah, I mean, it's fine. I like that they use, I think the Devil's Rain, it's spelled RAIN, is a homophone. So that's kind of cool, because it's the Devil's Rain, but it's not his reign like a king. It's reign like, clever. That's pretty much all I got. What do you have that you liked?
The first thing I wrote down is, it looks good, I guess.
I think it's nostalgia for us.
Well, it looks good. I mean, it's like Arizona, in the hills of Arizona, and
yeah, it's pretty. Yeah. Well, it's desolate. But
yeah, I mean, it looks, there's
the sets are okay.
It looks like John Ford made it. If you know.
Yeah, you're expecting like two guys to come out and have a shootout.
Exactly.
Like it's kind of got that Western, like the spaghetti Western.
Not quite Monument Valley, but
not the good, the bad, and the ugly.
No, John Ford always filmed in Monument Valley.
Oh, gotcha.
I thought the melting effect was pretty good. That's the next thing I have, which is at the end of the film. So it looks good, and then they melt and it looks good. I thought the acting was good, actually. Now that I couldn't
figure out what was holding it back because the acting was pretty good, right? So is it the script? Is it the direction? What is it? Because something's holding it back, but it's not the acting. The casting was fine. I mean,
I think it's the story.
but the story is okay.
Well, parts of it are. I guess it's okay, but
I mean, it's revenge over hundreds of years. That's a good premise.
I guess. Yeah. I knew that you would like there's sequel potential. It's got a twist ending at the very end.
Yes.
And it's not quite good enough to reward us for the 83 minutes we've sat through. I don't think.
I don't
But
know. I didn't, it's fine.
it's fine.
Yeah.
But
I
I'm moving
didn't,
into things I didn't like. So, all right, Karen, is that all you really enjoyed?
yes, that's pretty much it.
All right, Karen, is there anything that you didn't like about the film? Anything at all?
It's a little long. It doesn't have enough. Well, it should have enough to keep it going, but somehow it doesn't. I mean, there's a guy in the house at the start, some old dude. They don't even explain who he is.
John. It's John.
Yes. But they could have given him a little more meat to the role instead of constantly showing the scenery because or the melting is
If
good.
he was a young man, I would think he must be a farmhand, but no, he's definitely not a farmhand because he's too old.
So I couldn't figure, was he a butler to try to show that they had money or something? I don't know what it was.
But he seemed a little simple too. So maybe they were like taking care of him. I don't know.
But they could have let us know who he was. There was enough time for that when they were, off showing stuff that didn't matter. Or the melting is good, the effect is good, but oh my God, did we have to see every single follower melt? I mean, over and over and over. It's cool, but you could get the idea with like 2 or 3 of them. You don't need every single person to melt. John was a weird character for me. They both leave him bloody and needing care. They just leave, which is just weird. I wish the wife had a little more. She's important to the story.
Or mom. I call her mom, right? The matriarch, right?
No, I'm talking about
the wife, Julie.
the wife, the one who she has a gift of ESP. So she moves the story along.
Well, she's pretty important, I would say.
Yeah, but she doesn't, I don't know. It's like they could have filled in a lot of gaps. Like we just cut from the Arizona scenery to a lab where she's on a slab and she's
come up to the lab. See what's on the slab.
But there was no intro, nothing. I don't know. It was a little choppy in that way. I don't really know a lot about Ernest Borgnine. I think I should have said one of the things I liked is he did look like he was having fun in the role.
Yes, he did.
He looked like he was having a ball. So,
and he was pretty good in it too. So
that's always makes the film easier to watch when someone is looking like they're relishing the part, especially in a movie like this, which I would call a very good B movie, but not a very good regular movie. Acting was a little over the top once in a while, but overall pretty good. Scenes were generally good. There was one point where she crashes into a tree and I'm like, she just bumped the car into a tree. I just wish she had a little more to do somehow. She just sits around a lot.
That car took some abuse though, Karen.
It did.
Those 1970s automobiles.
And if you're going into a fight, take a lot of ammo.
Or something that repeats instead of a double barrel shotgun that you have 2 shots. So maybe a pump action shotgun would have been a better choice, Tom.
Even a pistol.
Well, Mark tried that here.
Yeah, but some of the sets were a little like he was supposed to wear the amulet to protect him. A lot of those pieces of the sets kind of looked like they came from Spirit Halloween. The amulet he had, it looked plastic. It was supposed to be metal, but it looked plastic. I think there was one effect that I liked that I should have said where he's wearing the amulet and the devil guy makes it turn into a snake. So he throws it off the amulet. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
So, but the actual props, some of them, even the thing he kept the souls in looked a little like you would get it at Michaels or Spirit Halloween. Nothing against those props, but this is the movie.
You could get them today at Michael's or
True.
Spirit Halloween. You
No,
couldn't
the
get it.
amulet you could get back then, I'm sure.
Didn't look
You
that
don't
bad
think?
to me.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
I
What
didn't
about
like the
you?
chain. The amulet.
Yeah, well, that's what I
amulet.
mean.
All right.
It just looked like a prop when normally you want those things to look real.
So I wrote it's slow in all capital letters.
Yeah, it dragged.
And makeup is pretty bad at times. A lot of the time. The melting is good. That's that special effect, but the makeup, when we see people turn to like followers and they have black eyes and they have a prosthetic on their face as well, and I can see the lines. You know
I
what
thought
mean?
William Shatner's was pretty good, though. It's
Well,
like they took extra time with his. And he was carved. They did some carving on his chest that came and went depending on the scene, but that looked pretty good.
Shatner did look good. So as soon as he came on and he had changed, I'm like, oh my God, it's Michael Myers.
That's what I said too. It
And
looks
then
just,
I started wondering, I wonder if John Carpenter saw this film
I agree.
because it's black eyes, just like Michael Myers, it's dark eyes. You can't see any eyes, right? I wonder if he saw this
I don't
film, and
know.
like, I think I'll use that. Maybe even in his subconscious.
Right.
But an interesting fact. So this predates Halloween, right? John Carpenter's Halloween. But to make the prosthetics for the actors, they did do life masks of them.
Really?
Right? So it would match their face. Like it looks like
Okay.
William Shatner's face. His prosthetic matches his face. And the William Shatner masks that were sold and that John Carpenter used for Halloween were made from that life cast of William Shatner.
Oh, interesting.
So in a way, if there was no The Devil's Reign, we might not have Halloween as we know it today, Karen.
True. But
So
I
that
saw the
was
same
interesting.
thing. You definitely see it. It's when he sits up, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, which may be why Todd wanted me to watch this film, Karen.
Maybe it's testing your knowledge.
Interesting. That's all I wrote. Well, it felt like a made-for-TV movie.
I think it's a little better than that.
Not much.
No, but that's what I mean. If
The only thing that kept this from airing on TV, like late night TV or Saturday matinees or whatever, was there are some swearing in it. And that's it. It's rated PG.
it is, but I didn't see any warnings.
There were none. I didn't see any either. And which is fine. I mean, like I said, we grew up in this period, so it's kind of nostalgic for us. It feels like a made for TV movie.
Well, it's a movie, honestly, that if I was clicking through, if it was raining on a Saturday afternoon, and I know I've said this before about other movies, I would probably watch it all the way to the end, especially if it didn't have commercials, like if it just kept going, because there's so many famous people in it, although you don't really see John Travolta. But as the names were coming up, I was like, oh my God, so.
Kind of reminds me of Frogs in that way.
Yeah.
Because I actually watched Frogs, which we covered a long time ago, was on late night TV, and I sat up and, well, okay, I'll watch this. So I don't disagree, Karen. Anything else you can think of you didn't like?
Yeah, it's one of those movies that it's not great, but it's not bad. I mean, it's all right.
If you got 85 minutes to kill, yeah, it is.
You could be
This
like,
should have been an hour.
you could be cleaning or something and look up every once in a while and still follow
True.
it.
Yeah.
Like you'd be like, oh, did anything happen? Oh, wait. Okay. I can see that.
I hit the plus 10 seconds several times. I'm just going to tell you, just to see if anything changed. And usually it did not. What kind of cocktail rating do you want to give this film, Karen?
It's a solid 4.
That's what I wrote as well.
Yeah, it's not.
4 cocktails. So that means, boys and girls, it took us 4 cocktails to get through this.
It's a genre.
Not really, but
No, like it's a niche. I think there are certain people who will really, really like this film, and there are
Yeah.
certain people who would just walk out and not enjoy it at all.
You ever watch
So,
Whose Line Is It Anyway, Karen?
the comedy thing?
Yeah. Sometimes they act out scenes and like they'll be given
Oh,
film
yeah, a
types,
prompt. Yeah,
or
yeah.
film types to go with, like they do
Okay.
horror and they'll do slasher. And then every now and then they'll do something like made for TV movie. And then the comedians act out their scene like a made for TV movie, which this is what they do.
I don't know. I think it has its audience. I'm just gonna say that.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I bet there's lots of people who love this film. So, and it was the heyday of the Satanic Panic too, in 1975.
According to this, the research I did, well, you can just start now talking about the Satanic Panic. It says it started in the United States in the 1980s, spreading throughout many parts of the world by the 1990s and persisting today. The panic originated in 1980 with the publication of Michelle Remembers, a book co-written by Canadian psychiatrist Lawrence Pasder and his patient and future wife, Michelle Smith, which used the controversial and now discredited practice of recovered memory therapy to make claims about satanic ritual abuse involving Smith. The allegations, which arose afterwards throughout much of the United States, involved reports of physical and sexual abuse of people in the context of occult or satanic rituals. Some allegations involve a conspiracy of global satanic cult that includes the wealthy and elite, in which children are abducted or bred for human sacrifice and prostitution. So I thought it was earlier too, but then it goes on to say there's 3 films that experts, whoever they are, say contributed to the Satanic Panic. And I'm sure you know them. Rosemary's Baby, of course, 1968, The Exorcist, 1973, and The Omen, 1976. So he says patients hypnotized by therapists to recover memories of these kind of things seem to be recalling scenes from these films. So I
remember others. I didn't mention Race with the Devil, which came out, I think, around the same time as this. And this one, I mean, there were lots of them, Karen.
True, but I think the 3 that they're mentioning, Rosemary's Baby, The Exorcist, and The Omen, kind of used ordinary people. Not that the movie we watched didn't use ordinary people, but it's more, what's the right word? It's, you're more fearful of it because you don't seem to have control somehow. I don't know. And they seemed like the devil coming in without a reason. Even this film had a reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there was that conflict of generations. But Rosemary's Baby and The Exorcist and The Omen all had, I don't know, real life.
They all had reason.
But they all had real life, and it was done very well.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but those are the 3. So it says the 1980s. I don't know a lot about it. And I know you've mentioned before that it was the 70s, and this is not.
I mean, even going back to the rock band Kiss, there's a whole thing. It stands for Knights in Satan's Service. So even back.
Yeah. So this.
Back in like 76.
By no means do I do in-depth research for this. So, this was it was probably Wikipedia. I try to use different sources, but I think maybe the seeds were planted back then and the panic actually started, because that's when the daycare centers and all that was the 80s. So I don't know if that's what they consider the panic, or if, you're planting the seeds in the 70s and it explodes in the 80s. I don't know.
Yeah. When the kids of the 70s turned into teenagers in the 80s and all their parents lost their minds.
Yes.
That was my experience, Karen. I don't know about yours.
I don't know if that ever changes. Don't parents always lose their minds when their kids become teenagers?
Probably. We have a teenager now, Karen.
Case in point.
All right.
I had a teenager before, so it's just extended.
That's true.
Lost my mind.
I had 2 back to back as well. So yeah, I feel you.
I think you're smarter. Have them closer together. Don't separate them by 5 years. You think you're smart because you only pay for one college at a time. which is smarter, but then it just extends.
Well, ours were 7, and it wasn't planned because we're a Brady Bunch family. So,
True. I'm saying it to the people out there if you're wondering.
yes.
You
yes,
think
if
it
you're
sounds
young
like
and planning a family, get it over with.
get them,
One after the other.
do it while you're younger and have them close together. Not that I don't, do what you need. Do you? We don't care. I'm
But
just
you
saying.
also, you don't want to be paying for college when you're trying to retire either. So do it early.
True.
All
you
right,
don't have to go to senior night when you're 60 years old.
Yeah.
Do you have a review of the time?
I do, Karen.
What do you got?
First, I have to tell you, Karen, this has a 17% approval
No.
rating on Rotten Tomatoes, a 5.1 out of 10 on IMDb. But what do you think Google users think?
See, just by your tone, I know it's higher.
I'm throwing you a bone, Karen.
79%.
Oh, 76.
Oh, I went over.
You would think
I can
3.
tell by the way you said it. Just by the way you said it, you think those Google users are nuts. So I'm like, it's got to be high.
I think Google users are sitting at home and
Either they're messing with us or they only go on there when because that could be like 3 Google reviews, right? Does it tell you how many it
that's
is?
true. It is true. Let me look. Does not, Karen. All right. The review I have, though, is from August 15th, 1975. And it is by Roger Ebert, Karen.
Okay.
Roger usually comes through.
True.
And I'm going to read the whole thing. And I'm going to admit you right now that I read this prior to watching the movie.
Oh, okay. You don't usually
Which I
do
usually
that.
don't. I usually don't do. Roger says, I walked into the Devil's Rain a few minutes late. I think as critics usually do. I've noticed. I've seen a film critic or two when I've gone to film.
Oh,
They
really?
usually walk in late and sit in the front fucking row. All right. I walked into the Devil's Rain a few minutes late and thought maybe I'd stumbled onto a Sergio Leone Western, alluding to the spaghetti Western comment you made. Vast empty spaces baked under the midday sun. But he walked in late. He missed that whole beginning sequence.
All those Westerns, I only know them because my dad loves them.
There were distant whistles and moans on the soundtrack. The desert shimmered and there was an eerie music sounding vaguely like the wails of a short-winded harmonica player. A ghost town stood starkly outlined in the wasteland, and the steeple of its church reached for the lowering sky. All that was missing was Clint Eastwood shooing flies. But no, here came a new Chevy. I'm not sure it was new. At the wheel, one of the men of the Preston clan. His mission to track down a cult of the undead, test his faith against their Satanist ceremonies, and rescue his kidnapped mother. She'd been taken in the latest chapter of a feud going back 300 years when men of the Preston family stole the book all the undead had signed with blood. Until the chief Satanist could get the book back, he wouldn't truly control the souls under his command. But he doesn't just want the book. No, he wants the Prestons too. He won't rest until all of them have embraced Satan and given him their souls. Then they'll be able to spend eternity standing outside in the Devil's Rain. But what is the Devil's Rain? This is a question frequently asked in the Devil's Rain, and believe me, frequently answered. Picture it this way. All the good things of life are on one side of the sheet of plate glass, and you're on the other, and it's raining on your side. Funky. You pass the time by scratching the glass and pleading to be allowed back in. I'm not sure Roger understood what was going on. But anyway, all of this would be good, silly fun if the movie weren't so painfully dull. The problem is that the materials stretch too thin. There's not enough here to fill a feature-length film. No doubt that's why we get so many barren landscapes filled with lonely music and ennui. There are, however, a few good scenes, especially those in which Ernest Borgnine appears. He wears his official Satanist suit, all red velvet, and quite a contrast to the hooded black robes of his disciples. They have empty eye sockets, And when you shoot them, it turns out they're full of a milky green substance that looks like gelatin that didn't set. Borgnine occasionally disappears in great puffs of smoke, only to reappear as the devil himself, complete with goat's horns, a beard, and fiery eyes. One imagines Borgnine reading the script and telling his agent, "This is a part I must make my own."
Yeah, see, he's having a ball.
He works up a fine, fiendish cackle and a passable, obscene growl and goes out in style, falling down a manhole into hell. Then there's a big explosion, the devil's rain starts to fall, and the undead all start to melt. 5 minutes later, we're wondering if they'll all ever finish.
I agree.
The filmmakers apparently spent a lot of money on the special effects, and to justify their investment, they have the undead melt and melt and melt until if we get one more shot of green ooze, we'll feel like an exercised popsicle. If only they'd melted just a little, just enough to give you the idea. But no, we have to wait about 5 minutes for the surprise ending, in which guess who doesn't have sense enough to come in out of the devil. There you go. I love Roger. He can turn a phrase. All right, Karen, are we ready to get into the film scene by scene?
Let's go.
Spoilers coming, boys and girls, if you haven't seen the film. Devil's Rain from 1975, rated PG. There were no other warnings on Amazon Prime. Karen, is that where you watched it?
I did.
Did you spend $3.99 for HD or $2.99 for standard D?
I just went with standard.
I did as well. Because it was filmed standard. It's from 1975, for God's sakes.
It's true. There are a couple points where it's all black. I'm like, I don't know what's happening. I think I said that in my notes. I can't see anything.
Film opens, we have credits with weird paintings in the background. And I made a note that Anton LaVey is credited as technical advisor.
Yeah, you want to hear about Anton?
Are you going to tell me about Anton LaVey, Karen?
I am.
Go on. Because he was supposed to have a small part in it, and I never recognized him, just like I didn't see John Travolta. I can't believe I missed Anton LaVey, but go on.
So did you know he was born? His name was Howard Stanton.
I believe I did.
It looks like Levy, Levey. So Anton LaVey is much better. He died in 1997. He was an American author, musician, and LaVeyan Satanist, which I like. So if you come up with a religion, you can just put your name in it.
I used to tell people I was a Wallacist, but go on.
Aren't you still?
Yeah, I guess I am.
He was the founder of the Church of Satan, the philosophy of LaVeyan Satanism, and the concept of Satanism. He authored several books, including The Satanic Bible, The Satanic Rituals, The Satanic Witch, The Devil's Notebook, and Satan Speaks. In addition, he released 3 albums, including The Satanic Mass, Satan Takes a Holiday, and Strange Music. It does say here he played a minor on-screen role and served as technical advisor for the 1975 film The Devil's Rain. So there's a historian, Gareth Medway, who described him as a born showman. An anthropologist, Jean Lafontaine, described him as a colorful figure of considerable personal magnetism. So he had riz, as the kids say. He had a lot of charisma. He was called the father of Satanism, the Black Pope, and you'll be disappointed to find out, the evilest man in the world.
No, he was not.
But those are some of the monikers that, I'm sure he liked those. So apparently he was charismatic enough to create and propagate his own religion.
Yeah. In San Francisco, I believe, is where he was based. I could be wrong. I'm just remembering that from somewhere in the
people
dark
talk, you hear
recesses
things.
of my mind.
Not that he studied that or anything.
No, I did not. Next thing I have is 3 minutes and 53 seconds later. The film starts, and it's a storm, Karen.
It's a heck of a storm.
And Mrs. Preston seems a little jumpy. Mark enters, played by Bill Shatner. I'm sorry, William Shatner. And looking for someone. I think they're looking for Tom, but I don't think they are. They're looking for Dad, right?
I think it's the father. Yeah.
All right. And the phone's dead. Then Mrs. Preston talks about a reoccurring dream she has every night. And Mark is like, Mom, I don't want to hear it. Not now. But something bad happens to Dad during a storm, is basically what I gathered from the dream. And then Dad arrives, and I wrote, he don't look so good.
Yeah. He's all bloody.
He looks like a
It's-
wax figure.
And
That's what he
something's
looks
wrong
like.
with his face, is what I said.
Yeah, he looks like a character from the Hall of Presidents at Disney World stepped off stage and whatever. And he tells the others to give Corbus what he wants, and then he gone and he melts. And he's the first person we see with the black eyes, right?
Yeah.
So then Mrs. Preston says her dream was a warning. They have found us. And they all go inside, and Mrs. Preston grabs a book from under a tile on the floor. Mrs. Preston wants Mark to take the book to Corbus, but he refuses.
And when the
Wouldn't
dad
be a
melts,
movie.
what?
Because then there wouldn't be a movie. There would be
Right.
no movie.
And Dad does melt outside, and they show a couple of shots of his green goo bubbling in the rain.
So Mark goes to the desk drawer, and it appears to me that he grabs a 1911 Colt handgun. And then Mom gives him an amulet to wear. And Mark puts the book back. And apparently the amulet. And a truck arrives, and they say, oh, good, he's here. And then Mark goes out there and finds the cab of the truck empty, but there is what I called a voodoo doll zip tied to the steering wheel.
That's what I called it too, but it's a wax figurine, which could be a voodoo doll, but is this your first time listening to the Scary Spirits podcast? Or maybe you're a regular listener, but missed a few along the way. No worries. Not only can you find every episode on our website, scaryspirits.com, but you'll also get to enjoy awesome show notes too. I just want to say we really appreciate your support. Now let's get back to the show.
So then we hear sounds of a struggle inside the house.
Yeah, so they're screaming and everything's going crazy in the house. Did you notice how long it took him to go back in the house?
Yes, he glared at the flashing lights in the windows for quite a while before he rushed back in. But he does run in, and he finds John, who we talked about earlier. We don't know who he is, but he apparently lives there with them. He's an elderly gentleman, and he is tied up hanging from the ceiling.
By his ankles, yeah.
Yep, Mark cuts him down. Then Mark yells for Mom. John says she is gone. And then we have a pan around the whole house, and we see a close-up of the family photo.
Yeah, it's a mess. Books are everywhere. It looks like my house. Like it's like my kids' rooms, like everything's just like a bomb went off in there or something.
That's a good analogy. My kids' rooms.
That's what it looks like.
So then Mark goes to look for the book, and it is gone. Only the amulet remains. Well, I thought it was gone. I don't know.
I don't think it's gone.
I don't either, because they pull it out later, but
yeah,
he only
I think
pulls out the
there.
amulet. And then John babbles about they had no faces.
But he leaves him there all bloody.
He does. He goes and he gets in his station wagon. And right here I wrote, is it supposed to be nighttime? Because if it is, they're using the wrong filter.
No, I think it's the next day. It's the next day.
Really? He spent the night at home and didn't go chase after his mother that very minute?
I guess you're right. But
the storm is gone, but whatever. He drives off. Then we have lots of shots of the Arizona landscape.
Yeah, I said he's definitely going out in the middle of nowhere because he's going and going and going.
Going, yeah. And then we see that he is driving a company-owned station wagon because it says Preston on the side.
Has a big P.
And right here I wrote, it feels like a Western.
Yeah, because he drives into a ghost town, basically.
Next thing I have, ghost town. Mark tries to pump the well or whatever to get some water. I wrote, Ernest Borgnine arrives, and
Mark gets out of the car. Yeah, so he parks. He parks, goes to try to pump water. It doesn't work. And you're right. Ernest comes and touches it and water.
Mark drinks some of it and spits it out. He says it's bitter. And Corbus has a kind of nice line here, but I didn't make a note of it. He says something like, but isn't it a sweet way to quench a thirst or something like that?
Yeah, so then he does drink it, which I was like, I don't think I'd drink it, but
So then Ernest Borgnine, Corbus, asks Mark if he has the book. Mark says he didn't bring it and that Corbus will never get it. And then they talk about faith. They debate faith.
yes, they're having a faith contest.
Corbus challenges him, wants him to go into the church with him, Karen.
Yeah, if what's his name? Because I called him William Shatner half the time. Mark wins the faith battle. He gets his mom and dad and himself. And if he loses, he'll give him the book.
But Mark says he'll be the same after he walks into the church as he was before he entered. Then they agree to the terms, as you just said. Even though I think Dad's gone, so I don't know how
Yeah, I
he's
don't
get Dad
know.
back. Walks into the church and we have chanting. Karen, did you make out any of the words they were saying? I could not.
No.
And people in black hooded cloaks. Mark sits down in one of the pews.
Yeah, let's have a mass.
And he pulls the amulet out of his shirt. And right here I wrote, Corbus starts to speak some Latin. Then he starts speaking English and he says a prayer.
There is a cool shot because there's a pentagram and there's a pipe organ. And the person who goes to play the pipe organ has bloody hands. They all have bloody hands too. But it's a shot that comes down over the top. So you see all the keys kind of curved and
curved organ. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, I thought.
And at the same time, Corbus is doing his satanic prayer. Mark recites the Lord. I believe it's the Lord's Prayer, Karen.
It's the Our Father. So did you notice there was something really distracting to me when Corbus is up there on the altar? There's actually a goat in a stained glass window behind him.
Mm-hmm.
But when he's standing there, I'm like, are those two googly eyes behind him? They looked like, if you didn't see it, it wouldn't make you. But I'm like, what is behind him? It looked because he was blocking part of the goat, so it just looked like these two big googly eyes
behind from the horns.
Head. Yeah, the way it was made. Anyway, it just made me laugh. But
so then I wrote, Corbus tells Mark that he's Martin Fife.
Yeah, and I'm like, who is that? I don't understand this. What's happening?
Yeah. And apparently Mark's mother is one of the people wearing a cloak and her eyes are black. So she's converted, apparently.
Yeah, and they did a good job with that, I'll say, because you knew immediately it was her. Same hair. I don't.
Right. Well, they used life masks to make their prosthetics so it looked like their faces.
Yeah, so I didn't really realize
this with sunken eyes and black eyes.
But I just thought, oh, it's a really good representation of her. I didn't know they made the masks like you said, but it really made a difference. You knew immediately it was her. It wasn't just a blank face or something. You could tell it was her.
So then Mark tries to escape and shoots one of the followers there, and it bleeds green ooze, ? I wrote.
I thought he shot his mother. I go, did he just shoot his own mother? No, it wasn't her.
And Corbus has a nice little line here about, oh, is that your faith?
Yes.
So that was clever. So then Mark demands that his family be released because he thinks he's survived the test or whatever. But Corbus then says a prayer and Mark's amulet turns into a snake. And he throws it off and then it turns back into the amulet.
And he does try to get to it.
He does.
It's a good scene. You can see he actually he's pretty good in this movie. You can see the desperation as he tries to get to the amulet. I mean,
it's Bill Shatner.
I know.
So Mark picks it up and runs away. One of the followers.
Wait, did he get it?
He does.
Oh, okay.
I think he does.
I don't think he did because somebody steps on his hand.
Okay. Maybe I missed it. Then one of the followers is in the car, so he cannot escape. And Corbus says, soon the family name of Preston will be no more. Cut to a laboratory, Karen.
To a lab with a slab.
And doctor's having a scientific experiment about the brain, ? And we see Tom and learn that he is a doctor. And apparently he's using his wife as a test subject. And they're trying to prove the existence of ESP.
Yeah, apparently she has that ability. So we've talked about ESP before, but I'll go over it a little bit. It's extrasensory perception, also known as sixth sense. It's a claimed paranormal ability pertaining to reception of information not gained through the recognized physical senses, but sensed with the mind. The term was adopted by Duke University botanist J.B. Rhine to denote psychic abilities such as intuition, telepathy, clairvoyance, empathy, and their transtemporal operation as precognition or retrocognition. So it was the 1930s at Duke University in North Carolina that J.B. Rhine and his wife, Louisa, conducted an investigation into extrasensory perception. So while Louisa concentrated on collecting amounts of spontaneous cases, JB worked largely in the laboratory, carefully defining terms such as ESP and PSI and designating experiments to test them. You might have heard of the cards that they used.
Mm-hmm.
The Zener cards were first used in the 30s, where there were 5 cards, 5 of each type of card in a pack of 25, and they put a barrier between 2 people, and one person was the sender and one was the receiver, and they tried to see if they could figure out what card they were looking at. They're just symbols on cards. There's a circle, a square, a star, wavy lines, and a plus sign. So we should try that sometime, Greg, see if we can send and receive messages. Let's see.
I'm not sure I want to know that information.
Then people started coming after them, and they were saying that it was anecdotal, biased, dubious, and the result of faulty observation and human frailties. Rhine's experiments were discredited due to the discovery that sensory leakage or cheating could account for all his results, such as the subject being able to read the symbols from the back of the cards and being able to see and hear the experimenter to note subtle clues. So, science says no. So people tried to repeat it, which happens in peer review. All science experiments will eventually be peer reviewed. And if you can't repeat what someone's done, then it's discredited. So, but yeah, 1930s.
Then Julie, who was Dr. Tom's wife, starts telling all the people there about her experience in ESP and what she sees. And then Tom gets a note. Julie sees the church and the Satanist. It's like, she says, it's like watching a movie and then you are acting in it, because we see her and Tom in her flashbacks as well, or flash forwards, I guess.
Yes, she's seeing the future.
Yes. So then Dr. Tom and the sheriff are at the Preston house, and the sheriff tries to explain everything away with the storm. He's got lots of people missing and whatnot. And Tom wants to go to the ghost town to look. Sheriff says he can't spare anyone. They are too busy. Tom says he'll go.
But he doesn't recommend it. The sheriff doesn't recommend it.
Tom tells John that Dr. Richards, who was in the scene we just saw doing these experiments, is coming tomorrow, and to tell him that they are going to the ghost town. Then Tom takes his shotgun and they leave.
Tom tells John to tell the professor everything that he's told him. So they have no faces, what happened, all of those things, because the sheriff obviously doesn't believe the old man, John. But Tom does. So he says, when the professor shows up, tell him everything you've told me.
And John holds the book as they drive away.
Yes, he has the book.
So then we cut to Mark being questioned about the book.
Oh, I said, here we are. They're carving up William Shatner.
And Corbis introduces Lilith, the Queen of Delights.
Yes, the Queen of Delights.
Have any notes about Lilith, Karen?
No, I do not. I thought we talked about her before.
I believe we did.
I think we did.
So Lilith kisses Mark and then turns into his mother.
Yeah, that was weird.
Cut to Tom driving. Drives into the ghost town.
So he does call him Martin Fife again, which I can only think of Barney Fife when I kept hearing that. It was ruined. And they do hang him upside down.
Which this is after Andy Griffith, so.
On the cross while they're torturing him.
So they arrive at the ghost town, Tom and Julie. Tom gets out of the car to investigate, and someone watches them from a window.
And he's got that 70s brown jeans suit. come
Mhm.
on.
It's Tom Skerritt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And his wife, Julie, who I don't know who she is, but she looks familiar, doesn't she?
She is. She's probably familiar to you. She was in
Was
um
she in sitcoms or
no,
something?
like Falcon Crest or something like that.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I never watched that, but
Eight
I
is
could
enough.
tell.
She was in Eight and Enough.
Oh, okay.
That might be where you know her from. But I think she was in some she was on an episode of Happy Days. Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew Mysteries. I'm sure you watched that, Karen.
Oh, I know that. That must be
Eight
where
is
I know her.
enough. The Love Boat, Chips, Fantasy Island. I know
Yeah,
you
she
watched
was
all
around. You
those.
could see that she was definitely in a lot of different things.
Yeah, that's all she was in. But Eight is Enough was like her main series, I think, which also starred Christy McNichol, Karen. But I digress. So then Tom sees the church in the distance. He drives over to it,
It's a cool
and
little church.
it is. And we have a
Yeah.
shot of a rocking chair with, I think, Mark's knife in it, his buck knife.
Oh, that he used to cut down the
Yeah,
John.
John. Yeah.
I didn't put that together. There is a knife, but I didn't put
Yeah.
it together that was
And
his.
then Julie and Tom talk about how the church looks like it belongs in New England. It's out of place. Tom enters with his shotgun. Julia does as well. And right here I wrote 47 minutes left. This was the first time check, Aaron. They look around the church. They deduce that it is being used by devil worshippers. They do a lot of investigating to find that out.
And she seems mesmerized a little because she's seen these things before in her visions. I said they both have beautiful blue eyes.
They hear moaning and then they find Mark's shirt. Suddenly there's an explosion, Karen. They run out of the church to find the car blowed up. Here you go. But then they almost get run over by Mark's station wagon. Tom shoots at it with the shotgun and the car crashes.
Yeah, it's like he's a crack shot if he hit that guy.
But then I'm like, how they know that's not Mark?
I don't know.
Because I didn't know at this point. Someone jumps out of the car wearing cowboy boots and jeans. Could have been Mark, for all I know. But whatever, they follow whoever was in the car into a building. Tom goes upstairs. He looks around. Yeah,
So
looks
there's
around
some
again.
nice lighting in here, though, because they're moving in and out of
But it's
darkness
another
and
long
light.
scene of just
It
walking
is.
around.
It is. But there's nice lighting, and there was a nice kind of strategy. So he's opening all these doors, right? And there's no one in there, no one in there, no one in there. It's long, like you
Oh, that's
said.
what you have to do.
No, I know. But then he gets to one that's locked. So he thinks, aha, this is the one. And as he's fiddling and about to kick the door down, the man he's chasing comes from the next room. I was like, oh, that's clever. I'll have
And
to
is
keep
this
that in
John
mind.
Travolta here? Because that's
I don't
wasn't
know.
sure. Or is he later?
Look it up and see, where is John Travolta in this movie? It was a good strategy, though, for fooling someone who's looking for you,
No,
is to
I done.
lock the door.
So Tom and this guy fight. Maybe John Travolta, maybe not. They all have wonderful feathered hair once you see them. But anyway, and then Julie reads the mind of the Satanist, and she
Well, his
sees
eyes
the
start
past.
to be on fire and behind the mask.
And this is where we get the flashback scene to Corbus telling his followers that the book is missing. Corbus blames one of his followers and says, without that book, they will all be in limbo.
It's like pilgrim time, Puritan time.
Yeah.
So John Travolta is Deputy Danny in this film. He's the one who yells, blasphemer, blasphemer.
Oh, he's the one who finds Mark later.
Okay,
Or
so
Tom later.
we'll point that out in a little bit.
I thought that guy's profile had that nose. So I thought maybe that was him, but the guy we just saw in the house fighting with Tom had the hair.
Had the hair.
So maybe he was both. Who knows? But anyway, Corbus blames Martin Fife, and we see Martin now, and it looks just like Mark, only he's got like Puritan hair with a little ponytail and whatnot, I guess. I don't know.
So it's all the same actors back in the Puritan days playing their ancestors.
Yes.
Which is very much like the Dracula movie, the 1972 Dracula AD, because they all played their previous ancestors.
Well, Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing.
Well, and the other guy, the one who was bringing him back.
Oh, yes, that's true.
So
right.
same kind of thing. But it's a obviously they're going to burn them because they're witches and that's what they did. And we're getting this flashback, which is she's sitting and watching it.
Yes. She's watching from the corner of the room.
Yes.
Then there's a knock at the door, and the angry townsfolk with their torches arrive.
Yes, the mob has arrived.
They accuse Corbus of being a witch. And apparently Corbus says Martin's Fife is among them, so she betrayed them.
Martin's Fife's wife betrayed them.
Isn't that what I said?
I don't know.
Okay.
But I go, oh, that's why they're calling him Martin Fife. But he's blaming him the whole time because he couldn't control his wife, because his wife is the one who stole the book and gave it away. And the preacher at the time promised to save her and her husband.
So then I guess we see a scene of Corbus helping his son escape through.
I don't know if it's his son, but
something.
He
calls him my
away.
son.
Yeah, but that's in church. That's what you say.
Is that what they say? As angry townfolk take the others, and they're going to burn them at the stake. Corbus puts a curse on Martin Fife and all his descendants, and they all burn. But Corbus doesn't seem worried. He laughs. He doesn't. He scoffs.
And even the woman who stole the book, the Puritan minister, she said, "You promised to save us." And he says, "I'm saving your souls." And he throws them on the pyres.
As they do. Then we come back to modern time. We hear moaning again, and Julie says, "We'd better go. Follow me." So whatever. They get in the station wagon and drive off. Seemed weird to me. Julie, I wasn't all that fond of Julie.
They didn't have a lot of chemistry, those two.
No. So then Tom stops the car. He has to go back, Karen. He has to go back.
I thought this was going to be one of those scenes where they drove off, but then they came around and they were still in the same place. I thought I said right here, they're going to end up back where they were.
All roads lead back to the ghost town.
Yes, but no, he gets out.
Julie drives away.
She's supposed to go find a phone and call the sheriff.
But then Mom pops up in the back seat and Julie crashes into a tree. So this is the second time that car has crashed, I think.
I will say that got me. Mom popping up in the back seat. It was a good jump scare to me. I didn't expect it.
So then we see all the Satanists with their torches walking in the desert. And they're taking Mark with them. Then we see Tom. He arrives and he's wearing a cloak. He's trying to fit in with the Satanists.
Yeah, he's going to try to save his family.
Then we see Corbus performing a ceremony. And then there's a explosion and he turns into Satan, ? I wrote. With goat horns and a goatee, and just like Roger Ebert says.
I go, that's funny.
And he commands that Mark's soul be purified by fire and water, Karen. So then he holds a wax figure over fire and it burns Mark.
Yes, it does.
Mark screams. And then Corbus pulls, or Satan, whatever he is now, pulls the holy water of forgetfulness. What is that? I feel like I've been doused with that a lot, Karen. Holy water.
Every time I walk into a different room, I'm like, what happened? What am I in here for?
Why am I here for? Yeah. What am I coming here for? What was I doing? And they try to get the soul of Martin Fife to enter Mark, apparently, is what they're doing.
All of this is so they can punish Martin Fife.
But is it punishment? He's leading them to eternal damnation, which is what they want, apparently. Then Mark's eyes turn black. And right here I wrote bad makeup. I could see the seams. And Mark turns into one of them.
See, now he looks like Michael from Halloween is what I have here.
So then Tom is discovered. Blasphemer, just like John Travolta's line there. And
yes, because they're all walking around. They all have no eyes and waxy faces. And Tom's just Tom in a robe. So
with a mustache.
Yes, he's a normal dude. So it's easy to pick him out if you can see his face, which apparently this John Travolta character did.
And Tom shoots a couple of them with his shotgun as he runs away because he's only got 2 shots. So he does what he can, apparently. And then he runs into a house and he fights with a couple more Satanists and he stabs one with a pitchfork and the ooze comes out. Tom gets away. He and Dr. Richards look at the book. They figure out the book is a registry of the names of the people Corbus converted to Satan. And in the book, there's a letter from Martin Fife's wife. As long as Corbus doesn't have the book, he cannot deliver his followers' souls to hell, or something like that. Something to that effect. And she wants to save Martin's soul, Martin Fife's soul, her husband's. So she doesn't want him to have the book. And then the letter mentions the devil's reign.
I'm still just so confused by this whole thing because the souls are separated from the bodies. Why do they need the bodies? Is he trying to like get an army together or what's I missed the whole purpose kind
Eternal
of.
damnation, Karen.
For the souls, but why are the bodies still around? Once your soul is taken and put in the soul catcher, why do you need the body anymore? Is he doing something with them or what? I missed it. Like why? Because once the devil's reign comes, the bodies are gone anyway.
But if they, I guess, move on,
but they've all signed the book.
Survive the devil's reign.
No, but they all signed the book. They all want to go to hell.
Yeah.
So why I'm missing something here. Through this whole thing, I couldn't figure out.
Yeah, I know.
What's he doing with the bodies? Like, is this whole thing just to go after Mr. Fife? And if it is, why is he waiting this long? Like, there's no context of why now? Like, what makes them?
Oh, he's finally caught up to them. I guess he's finally found them 300 years later. The descendants.
I guess, but I don't really understand why, what's happening. Because you're right. If he's punishing Martin Fife by sending him to hell, that's what he wanted to do. It was his wife who didn't want to do that. It's very confusing. I don't think I'm following confusing. What is actually happening here. Okay, I'm overthinking it. Move on.
So now they turn the pages and they find that Mark Preston's name is now in the book. Apparently it wasn't there earlier in the day. So then we have Corbus having another ceremony, this time with Julie, the lovely Julie in her.
I think we saw the sheriff is now
gown.
One of the robed people too.
Almost. We're not there yet.
Oh.
So then Tom and Dr. Richard arrive at the church. They hear moaning and lift a grate out of the floor of the church, and they pull up an ornate container, I wrote. It contains the souls of the followers, apparently, and they deduce that must be the devil's reign.
I don't know how they know that.
So then the sheriff enters.
Gotcha.
And he has black eyes, and they fight. And then Dr. Richards throws him into the hole, and he burns. They take the vessel and try to leave the church, but the Satanists arrive. Tom and Dr. Richards head upstairs, because of course you want to go upstairs, Karen.
Right. That's always, as I say, that's always the way to go. Go up. They're bringing Julie in for pleasure. She is all decked out in the white gown, and she's on the cross, but upside down on the cross that they're bringing in.
Next thing I have is 16 minutes left. And then one of the Satanists finds the book in the church. This book
they just left it.
They left it there. They grabbed the vessel of souls, but left the book. So he gives the book to Corbus, and they are about to prepare Julie for the ceremony to turn her into a follower when Tom jumps down and stops them. They capture Tom. And right here, it took me to right now to say, Mark looks a lot like Michael Myers. Because Mark grabs Tom.
Oh, I saw it immediately.
Oh my God, That's Michael Myers.
But yeah, the professor's like, shh, don't say anything. But as soon as Tom sees Julie, he just, of course, can't wait. Julie, and runs down there. And there's like 50 followers. I'm like, what is he going to do? And that comes up again in a minute. It looks like a Fabergé egg. It
does. A big Fabergé egg with a ram head on top of it.
Yes, and like a see-through window in it. And that's where the souls are.
So then Dr. Richard stops them as they are going to perform the ceremony on Julie, and he threatens to destroy the devil's reign. A bunch of them grab Dr. Richards.
I said,
So-
he's way outnumbered. That was just stupid. Why did he do that?
But then Mark grabs the vessel or bottle or whatever. Dr. Richards tells Mark to destroy the bottle. It's the only way that he can be free. Free the souls and free yourself, he said. So, of course, Mark destroys the vessel.
So he's still in there, even though, he's converted.
It begins raining. All the Satanists begin to melt. Corbus turns back into the devil. He and Tom walk around the altar. They stalk each other a little bit. Then Corbus grabs Tom by the head and tries to put him down into the pit. But there's a hole in the roof of the church now, Karen, letting the rain in, and it falls onto Corbus as the devil, and he begins to melt.
Yeah, see, so first of all, I don't know why he's melting in the rain. I don't get why they're melting.
Devil's rain. Mm.
But they're all devil worshippers. Why are they melting? And if he is
Because
now
they didn't pass over so they could survive standing in the devil's rain.
Okay, but the devil himself is melting now. So is the devil himself gone? Or is it not the devil?
Is he? We'll see, Karen.
But at that point in the movie, he's melting.
He is.
And he's supposed to be he's Satan, right?
He's the Satan incarnated, I would say. Yeah. So then we see all of them melting, green slime coming from their eyes. It's like I said, this is pretty good.
Yeah, there's a couple of times it's bubbling out the eyes. It does look pretty good.
But it was way too long because the next thing I have is montage of melting.
Yes.
It was a good effect, but I didn't need to see it for 10 minutes or whatever it was. It felt like 10 minutes. Then we see Corbus fall into the pit and the church explodes. Well, there's a ball of fire. It doesn't quite explode. And then Julie starts walking into the pit. Tom grabs her and carries her out. Montage of melting and burning, I wrote. Then I waited a little while and said, lots of melting and burning.
Yes. And more melting and more fire.
Then we see a hand trying to come out of the pit.
See, and I thought, okay, there's my sequel potential right there. The hands coming out.
But then the church really explodes, Karen.
Lots and lots of melting.
It blows up real
Yes.
good. And then Julie and Tom hug. But as they're hugging, Julie turns into Corbus. And we see Julie trapped in the vessel, which is broken. So I don't know what that's all about.
Yeah, I don't know how she's trapped in a vessel. And I said, interesting ending anyway, sort of. I'm not sure.
Credits, the end.
Yes. I don't understand it.
It's a little hard to follow. But, if you just let yourself go and go with the story, Karen, you don't care about things.
It's fine if it doesn't make sense. It's all good.
Just go with it, Karen. Go with it.
It makes me feel like large sections of it were somehow taken out.
Maybe they were. Very possible. All right, Karen, what did you think of the Red Devil cocktail?
It's enough for two.
It is. Mine's the Pink Devil, but
It's still devilish.
it hasn't evaporated yet.
Well, it's about half evaporated.
It's a little more than half, about 2/3, but
It's a big drink.
it is a big drink.
It's almost like a punch. Like
It is.
you could make a punch.
Right now that the ice is mostly melted, it tastes just like a punch.
Yeah. If there were two of those in a bowl, that would be a punch.
Not bad, though. I don't hate it. I do get a lot of apple. Not sure how it would be with Southern Comfort. I kind of like the apple, though.
None of the liquors are overpowering,
No,
but there's a lot in there.
mostly orange. From orange juice and the triple sec or Cointreau, which is what I use.
I meant a lot of liquor, not orange juice.
But it's very orange juice forward, I think. Anything we learned today, Karen?
We learned about good old Mr. Anton LaVey, a little bit about the Satanic Panic and the 3 films that are credited with planting the seed. There was something else I thought.
Yes.
Oh, ESP and the history and the Zener or Zener cards that were used in it.
I got a Rocky Horror reference.
You did.
Thanks to you, Karen. You put it out there for me and I grabbed it.
You're welcome. John Travolta we were searching. It was like trying to find where's Waldo. It's like couldn't find him in there, but
yeah, I think this was his first.
It says his first film.
Feature film.
Yeah. It said co-starring him.
I know. Well, the credits were 4 minutes long, Aaron. So he was about halfway through, I guess.
But he has one line that says the same word over.
Blasphemer.
Like twice he says it, and that's it. Well, good on him,
Yeah, good for him. He's done well for himself.
Yes, he has.
Rebounded well. Apparently he made impressions.
We all start somewhere.
Did you see me in The Devil's Rain? I was the man who yelled, blasphemer. All right. Are we ready to move on to the next film, Karen?
It looks like we are.
I believe that is your choice. Is it not?
I don't think it is.
Well, I don't think
I
it's
think it's a listener choice.
Another one?
2 in a row.
Back to back?
We're influencers, Greg.
We're so popular.
I know. It's getting embarrassing.
What film has a listener chosen for us this week, Karen?
So next week, we're doing Tanya's request of the 1980 movie, The Changeling, with the amazing George C. Scott. Do you want to know something about it?
I would love to, Karen.
The seance scene has been lauded as one of the best scenes in this genre of scary movies. It's her all-time favorite.
Well, then we have to do it. Do we have a cocktail?
We do. She even did a cocktail. She is on point.
Listeners who are on point, Karen.
We like any listener that does a suggestion. So even if you don't come up with a cocktail.
Or any listener, period. But go on.
Yes, that's true. We're not picky. It's called the Carmichael.
And how would we make the Carmichael? Please tell me how to make this drink.
2 ounces of Applejack. It says Laird's Applejack. Might be apple whiskey, I'm guessing. 1 ounce of green chartreuse. 1 ounce of allspice dram. 2 dashes of cinnamon sassafras bitters. And a 1/2 ounce of lemon juice. I think she's picking one of these.
Thank goodness I have all those ingredients.
I know. Combine and shake over ice.
Tanya is costing us money, I feel.
You know what? But you get to use the coupe glass. Serve in a coupe or rocks or honestly, whatever strikes your fall fancy.
So it is a fall beverage.
Yes. It's going to make you feel all warm and toasty inside.
Oh, I look forward to that then, Karen.
That's my guess anyway.
All right. The Changeling, starring George C. Scott. And George C. Scott's birthday is this coming Friday, if you're listening to this on the day it goes live. So
look at, she is really crushing it then.
Well, I'm not sure she knew that.
I'm sure she did, Greg. She listens, so she knows.
Thank you, Tanya. All right, Karen, anyone you need to thank this week?
Well, we were just saying, we appreciate any listener. So I'd like to thank all of the listeners out there. There's a lot of podcasts out there. Thank you for spending time with us. And I also want to say, if you are having a Halloween party,
15 days until Halloween, boys and girls.
You are getting down to the wire.
Yeah. If you haven't planned your drinks yet, you are way behind.
So go on the Scary Spirits website, scaryspirits.com. Check out the recipe den, and you will find hundreds, I tell you, of horror-themed drink recipes. You are bound to find something that works for your party.
In one of our Halloween parties, we played a game called Pick Your Poison, and I had a bunch of Halloween drinks wadded up on paper, their names of them, and I made people pick one. So I had to know how to make all these Halloween recipes.
Halloween parties that Greg never invited me to. I'm just going to put that out there.
Well, I didn't know you then, Karen. That was many
you knew me
years ago.
You just didn't consider me part of the cool group. Anyone you need to thank, Greg?
I'm going to thank the band Verse 13. I'm also going to thank the people of Pennsylvania, again, Karen, and Georgia. I don't know what it is about Pennsylvania.
They
Thank you
like
for
their
listening.
horror.
I will be in you, Pennsylvania, in a few weeks.
That sounds gross. You might want to rephrase that.
No, I do not, Karen. I will be in you, Pennsylvania, in a few weeks to see Iron Maiden. And I look very much forward to that in the middle of November. So if anyone lives in Pennsylvania or the Pittsburgh area and would like to let me know some restaurant or whatnot I should go to while I'm visiting your fine state, please let me know.
You should wear your Scary Spirits
spirits.com.
Your Scary Spirits t-shirt to the concert and see if anyone
Karen.
goes, Greg.
Karen, I will be wearing one of my Iron Maiden fan club t-shirts.
I know, but that would be funny. Yeah. Any suggestions? Email at, what did you say?
info@scaryspirits.com.
I think I talked over him, so I wanted to make sure he got that in there. The music definitely makes the podcast better, by the way.
It does. Thank you, verse 13. Anything else, Karen?
Please drink responsibly.
Yes.
Thanks so much for listening. Want to keep in touch? Check out our website, scaryspirits.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Scary Spirits Podcast. Find us on YouTube at Scary Spirits Podcast. If you have questions or comments, you can email us at info@scaryspirits.com. To help us grow the podcast, you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We really do appreciate your support. And as always, please drink responsibly.